What's up everybody, this is Master Ian Gamer, and today I'm going to talk about support heroes in Overwatch, and the idea that they are low skill or easy to play. Now, I'll say right off the bat that this is a pretty ridiculous misconception. However, it does stem from something that is actually quite important to understand, especially if you're new to the game or considering picking up and playing a new hero. And that's the difference between mechanical skill and game sense. In case you're unfamiliar with these terms, let me explain. Mechanical skill is your ability to precisely aim and react quickly to things happening in the game. For example, consistently landing headshots or flashbanging a Genji before he can use deflect. Generally, DPS heroes require high mechanical skill to play well, given that they need to be able to consistently land shots on the enemy and react at a moment's notice to incoming threats. But that doesn't mean that other hero classes don't require this, and I'll get into that a little bit more later on. Even if you're new to Overwatch, as long as you're a veteran of first-person shooters, then chances are you'll have good mechanical skill. Game sense, on the other hand, is best described as a passive knowledge about the game and strategies. Knowing good positioning, who to prioritize while both healing and dealing damage, as well as when to push in or fall back, are all examples of this. Generally, supports and tanks require higher game sense to play well, although just like mechanical skill, every hero needs it to some extent. Game sense is best learned through simple experience and spending time playing the game. Alternatively, you can watch a bunch of YouTube videos, although this shouldn't be considered a wholesome substitute. Now, many people underestimate the value of game sense, and put too much weight on mechanical skill. That's why someone who mains Mercy is oftentimes seen as being a low-skill player. Mercy requires very little mechanical skill to be effective, but rather has potential to be mastered and perfected through extensive game sense instead. Knowing when to res, who to heal first, and where to position yourself in order to both avoid taking damage and still support your team are major components in playing her well. Granted, an inexperienced Mercy player can still be effective at supporting their team, since her healing and damage boost auto lock on, and her Guardian Angel ability works by simply aiming at a teammate. This is where the stereotype of Mercy players, and by extension support players in general, stems from. And it isn't just the fault of the manly, high mechanical skill DPS mains. While these players may very well not understand or appreciate the degree of game sense that goes into being a great Mercy player, it also at least partially falls on the fact that a lot of Mercy players are inexperienced and bad players. There's nothing wrong with being bad at the game or lacking overall skill, but people in this position will often favor playing Mercy because they know they can still help their team even though they aren't the best player. Thus, the stereotype exists largely as a result of the ratio of low-skilled Mercy players versus low-skilled, other hero players. While Mercy as a hero shouldn't be underestimated for her high skill potential, we also should recognize that her simple, easy-to-pick-up playstyle is a factor in the skew of player skill levels. Now, I don't want you all to think I'm riding around on my high horse by saying this. Heck, I'm as bad at Mercy as I am at DPS. That's why I play tanks. All I have to do is stand there and get shot at. Supports, including Mercy, can be difficult to play in a lot of regards. Even if some of them are easy to pick up initially, they have a lot of room to be mastered. Mercy's new rework even caters to this aspect. Gone are the days of swooping in for a 5-man res. Now players need to be even smarter in order to know how to manage their new resurrection ability, as well as her wild new Valkyrie ultimate. Up to this point, I've only really been talking about Mercy, who by no means should be taken to represent the entirety of the support class. So let's take a look at the other healers in the game. Where do they stand in terms of mechanical skill versus game sense? Well, you may be surprised just how much mechanical skill these guys require. Let's start with Lucio. His healing and speed boost is applied to teammates through an AoE aura. It seems easy to use, but given his limited range and its relatively low healing output, positioning is everything for this guy. He has a ton of room for perfection via game sense. Knowing when to use Amp It Up to save your teammates, either through healing them or getting them out of a sticky situation, can be tricky to pull off. Given its long cooldown, using it too frivolously can leave you SOL when your team needs you most. And don't forget about his Sound Barrier ultimate, you gotta know the right time to drop the beat. So far, these have just been Lucio's game sense aspects. Now let's get into his mechanical skill potential. Given his gun's slow projectile speed, leading shots when aiming is important with him. And wall riding? That ain't easy. Not every player can rise like Batman out of Nepal Sanctum's chasm. Whether you're saving your own life or taking a shortcut, being able to wall ride effectively can take a lot of good timing and positioning. So in actuality, wall riding alone can require both high mechanical skill and game sense. Let's take a look now at Zenyatta. Once again, he requires a good mix of both. You have to prioritize which allies and enemies you assign your respective orbs, and given his low health and mobility, positioning is very important for his survival. His ultimate is a lot like Lucio's. You gotta know when the right time is to use it. And don't forget his primary fire, which actually is a decent source of damage. Landing shots with his orbs of destruction requires just as much aim as Soldier or Genji, and can deal about as much damage if used properly. Knock knock, who's there? It's Ana, here to redefine hero class stereotypes. If you want to talk about mechanical skill associated with Lucio and Zenyatta, then those are just child's play compared to how Ana works. She requires at least as much aiming skill as McCree or Widowmaker, and still a tremendous knowledge of target priority and positioning. Because of this, she has one of, if not the highest, skill caps in the game. Not only does she need target prioritization, but also she has to actually be able to hit her teammates in order to heal them. Her Sweep Dart, which is one of the most powerful abilities in the game, can be tremendously difficult to consistently land. Her Biotic Grenade may have an AoE effect, but hitting allies and enemies alike can still prove to be challenging, especially at longer ranges. On top of all this, she has no special mobility and limited options to heal herself, thus positioning is just as vital with her as with Zenyatta. Ana may have been easier to play back during the triple tank meta, since she could just run with a bunch of oversized targets and basically heal them from point blank range. But nowadays, if you want to try and play her in a dive comp, good luck trying to hit your team's Genji or Tracer. So as you can see, all 4 support heroes, despite their stereotypes, do often require as much, if not more mechanical skill as those in the offense and defense classes. What's that? You say I forgot a support hero. Symmetra's a DPS and you dang well know it. Okay, fine. Symmetra is a lot like Mercy in that she's almost entirely game sense oriented. However, she too has a fairly high skill ceiling. Knowing where to place your turrets, teleporter, and shield generator can have a huge influence on the game. Also, timing the use of her photon barrier can result in the negation of a lot of enemy damage, including ultimates such as Rocket Barrage and Self-Destruct. Additionally, prioritizing enemies to chase down with her long-range beam can help your team secure a kill, while also pissing off the enemy. Now that I've hopefully convinced you all that there is lots of room for skill with Overwatch's support heroes, and that not all of them are easy to play, let's go back real quick to the root of this stereotype. As I alluded to earlier, all the supports suffer at least a little bit from the generalization of Mercy in the role she plays. As I said, she isn't a low-skill hero, but she is easy to pick up and play for beginners. However, an entire separate aspect of why healers are seen as simple or boring is that lots of people just don't like playing them. Not necessarily because they're too easy, but because many people prefer lodging bullets in enemies' skulls over babysitting their team. There's a reason that so many people play DPS heroes, and even more specifically, heroes like Genji, Widowmaker, and McCree. Landing those high damage headshots and being able to dance around your enemy target is just typically more enjoyed by people who play first-person shooter games. Blizzard knows this, and it's a huge factor in why Overwatch has 14 offense and defense heroes and only 6 tanks and 5 supports. Despite how much people want a new support hero to help flesh out that class, Blizzard also has to take into account what the average person wants, and honestly, that's more DPS. Along with favoring one playstyle over another, many DPS mains, not all of them, but many, may try to convince themselves or others that supports are lame, simply to justify them playing a DPS hero in an already DPS saturated player base. I don't believe it's fair to call out someone for preferring to play a DPS hero over a tank or support, as people will always enjoy playing games in different ways. However, I do want to emphasize that there's nothing wrong with playing a support hero, especially if you actually enjoy that playstyle. All in all, it should be clear why supports aren't lower skill than any other heroes in the game. Some of them may not have as much of a minimal skill requirement in order to benefit their team, but they certainly all have room to be mastered beyond first picking them up. It's really a shame that they've gained such an unfortunate stereotype, since they're perhaps the most crucial component of any well-balanced team. I'm sure we've all had teams of 6 DPS, and those games tend to neither go well nor be very fun. And look on the bright side, people love it when others play a healer. Thus, if you pick one, not only will your team be relieved that they don't have to do it, but also you'll probably be the most valuable team member. It's 2 birds, 1 stone if you enjoy playing a healer too. So don't hesitate or feel like you're getting stuck with the lame hero role. Pick Mercy if you're unsure about your mechanical skill or game sense, and try Ana if you feel ready to show up those DPS snobs. Besides, if more people were willing to spend time playing on support heroes, I'm sure they'd find that they actually can be quite fun. Some of them can deal a decent amount of damage, and it isn't all babysitting, even if your main job is to keep your team alive. But even then, I think most people find this to be fun too, at least as a change of pace every now and again if they don't always want to be dealing damage. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and leave a comment below about any experiences you've had with support player stereotypes. Be sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and hit that bell icon to keep up with all my future content. This is Mastery and Gamer signing off, and until next time, try out a support hero every now and again, and have a great day.